Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a question that has really echoed through the centuries. Has God abandoned his promises? We're going to find the answer in Romans chapter 11, a passage that's just packed with mystery, some serious warnings, and ultimately an absolutely unbreakable hope.
So the chapter kicks off by tackling this huge, and honestly, for some, a pretty unsettling question. After everything that's been said in the previous chapters, has God cast away Israel? Has he just broken his covenant with his chosen people?
The author Paul answers with what is basically the strongest possible no you can imagine. God forbid. In the original language, it's this incredibly emphatic, absolutely not, or may it never, ever be. It's just a powerful, immediate shutdown of that whole idea.
So, here's how we're going to walk through this. We'll explore Paul's definitive answer by looking at 6 key stages. We're going to follow his powerful argument, starting with his own personal story and going all the way to this just stunning conclusion about God's master plan.
All right, first up, Paul presents his initial piece of evidence against this shocking idea, and believe me, it is deeply personal. He basically just points to himself and says, look at me, If God had really cast away his people, how could he, Paul, an Israelite from the tribe of Benjamin, be the very guy chosen to carry the gospel to the entire world? It just wouldn't make sense.
Okay, so he expands on this personal proof by looking back through history, and what he finds is this powerful, recurring pattern. God always preserves a faithful few.
And the key concept here is the remnant. Now, this isn't just about a few good people managing to hold on. No, this is about a core group that God himself preserves by his grace, his unearned, unmerited favor. This is an act of God, not something people achieve on their own.
And Paul gives us this perfect example with the story of the prophet Elijah. Elijah was at his lowest point, feeling like he was the only faithful one left in the whole nation. But then God reveals this incredible truth to him. Nope, I've kept a reserve of thousands who are still faithful.
So, just like God preserved that specific number back then, Paul's argument is that he's doing the exact same thing now. In Paul's time, there's also a remnant, a group of Jewish people who have accepted Jesus as the Messiah, and they exist purely by God's grace. Okay, so what about the majority who didn't believe? Well, this leads to a really surprising twist in God's plan, where a stumbling block actually becomes a doorway for the whole world. Paul asks another one of these crucial questions. Was their stumbling meant to lead to their ultimate, permanent destruction? Was this a fall with absolutely no hope of ever getting back up?
And again, the answer is a huge no. Instead, their stumbling opened this unexpected door for the rest of the world, the Gentiles, to receive salvation. Their temporary fall actually brought spiritual riches to everyone else. It's incredible, right? God, in his wisdom, repurposed their mistake for a greater good.
So, what was God's big idea in all this? It was to provoke Israel to jealousy. The idea is that when the people of Israel see the blessings and the incredible relationship with God that non-Jewish believers are experiencing, they'll be stirred up to desire that same relationship with their own Messiah.
So, to explain this new kind of complex relationship between Jewish and Gentile believers, Paul uses this really powerful and vivid picture, the olive tree.
In this amazing analogy, every part has a specific meaning. The tree's holy root, that represents God's promises to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The natural branches are the people of Israel. And the Gentiles, well, they're like branches from a totally separate wild olive tree. Now, through this totally supernatural act of grace, wild branches, that's the Gentiles, were grafted into this cultivated tree, and they started drawing life from its rich root. And this was only possible because some of the natural branches were broken off because of their unbelief. But this comes with a very stern warning against pride. Gentile believers are told, be not high-minded, don't get arrogant about this, but instead, fear, have this reverential awe of God. The crucial point here is this: their place in the tree isn't some achievement, it is a gift, and it's maintained only by faith. Next, Paul reveals what he calls a mystery, which is like a previously hidden truth about God's ultimate plan for Israel. It's a big reveal. He explains that Israel's spiritual blindness isn't total. Remember, there was always a remnant, and it's not permanent. It's actually a temporary condition that's going to last until the full, predetermined number of Gentiles that God intends to save is reached. And the core of this hope really rests on one of the most powerful statements in all of Scripture. God's promises and His callings are irrevocable. I mean, the original language here means something you can't regret or take back. God doesn't do takebacks. He doesn't change His mind about the promises He's made.
So after laying out this incredible sweeping plan of redemptive history, Paul concludes with really the only possible response you could have: worship.
He is just completely overwhelmed, and he just breaks into praise. He's marveling at the depth of God's wisdom and knowledge, declaring that His judgments are unsearchable and His methods are past finding out. We simply cannot fully wrap our minds around His grand strategy.
So what does all this mean for us, for you and me, today? Well, this chapter calls us to a posture of deep humility, of awe, and an unshakable confidence in God's faithfulness. It challenges us to reject pride, to trust His promises, and to really understand His enduring love for the people He first called.
In the end, this chapter reveals this just breathtaking master plan of mercy for all people. If you want to keep exploring these powerful truths, definitely check out the resources provided by the You Need Faith in Jesus team, and you can really solidify what you've learned here today.